What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart, where I do 2 live stream shows per day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. This is the second of our doubleheader. We do daily, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. And we have a great show lined up for you today. Big news in the NFL involving my New York Jets. They made a trade today, trading former first-round pick Jermaine Johnson for DeVondre Swift from the Tennessee Titans. So we'll break down that trade and what more moves could come for the New York Jets in the coming days and weeks as we get locked into this second, year of the Muji Aaron Glenn tenure. I've told you guys I don't have much faith and much confidence in particularly the head coach as long as the owner is here, but I think there is some hope regarding maybe some shifts in the defense and a new agenda and a new plan moving forward for this Jet team, because I think this trade signals a shift in defensive philosophy. So we'll break that down in a little bit. We'll also talk about some other stuff in the NFL involving Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson, he's being allowed by the Colts to go after any potential teams that may want to trade for him, so he can seek a trade. He requested a trade, or he was expected to request a trade a couple weeks ago. We talked about that on the show. I mentioned very clearly how much I did not want him to be a New York Jet. I don't know if he'll be a Jet or not, but he will be able to talk to other teams about whether or not they might be interested in his services. So the Colts are allowing him and his agent to freely speak to other teams to see if somebody will give up something of value for Anthony Richardson. I'll talk about whether or not that would make sense for any teams out there that may be looking for a QB. We also have some injury news regarding the New York Knicks that was not the greatest news. Deuce McBride, according to Stefan Bondi, not expected to return for the rest of the regular season. And I'm getting some bad feelings about what we can expect from Deuce or not expect from Deuce the rest of the way. With he came from that sports hernia surgery. The word was, they hoped his season wouldn't be over, that he'd be back. Maybe he'd be back for the last few games of the regular season. Turns out that's not going to be the case. And now you have to wonder about when the Knicks will see their 6th man of the year, if at all, at this point in the season. Staying on the injury front, Giancarlo Stanton says, I'm ready to go. I'm excited to have a full season this year. Okay, cool. One problem. My elbow is killing me. So he's had these elbow issues before. The tennis elbow sat him, allowed him to miss basically half of the season last year. And apparently the elbow injury, not surgery yet, it has been so bad that he can't open a bag of potato chips, but he wants to play baseball. So that doesn't sound all that great, but that is the story from out of Yankee camp. So we'll discuss that. Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators, who of course is now a U.S. Olympic gold medalist because of their win over Canada. We talked earlier this morning about one of the players from the U.S. women's team talking about how much they disliked what came out of that call that President Trump made to the U.S. men's team, saying that, I guess we'll have to invite them to. One thing I didn't anticipate, but now it makes sense. Brady Tkachuk is now having to face the music for some of the things the White House has posted since he has returned to Canada, which is where he plays, where he lives. And one of the videos that were posted were fake, and he didn't seem too happy about that. So we'll play that sound a little bit later. Finally, also, second time. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got linked up with my boy, shout out to my guy Ray Jarvis. I don't know what happened. I got linked up with him. I know he does, of course, the Rap Roundtable podcast and also podcast. We have him on the show twice. He's a phenomenal, not just commentator when it comes to hip-hop, but also commentator when it comes to sports. And I know he's gotten in entanglement, so to speak, with rappers and artists. That's not typically ever been my bag or my deal. But apparently now I'm entangled in something, or maybe not. I don't know. But I posted something today that, to be clear, I was, I guess, in theory mentioning them because I quote tweeted them. But CyHi The Prince, former artist for good music, and I would say a really good rapper, like a really solid rapper. He's been doing what artists do, trying to get attention, and he's been teasing that he may want to diss J. Cole, and of course, because J. Cole fans are very defensive, they've come out and they've been hammering him for like a kind of a what do I call it? It was like a tweet that was kind of vague. That's the best word. It was like a vague tweet, like, oh, I remember back in the day where rappers weren't college students; they were real thugs, or something like that, something stupid. And of course, J. Cole fans jump out the window because he put this out around the time Cole had dropped the Fall Off, and I had seen just out of periphery, because I don't follow CyHi that close, but I had seen that just because I'm a J. Cole fan, I've seen these people kind of like going after him and going back and forth with them. And now he has teased a single, I guess, that is going to diss J. Cole. The reach that he makes to make the connection that now is his time to diss J. Cole is phenomenal to me, which is what I posted. I tweeted his tweet and said, I can't believe he's reaching in this level, but okay, go at it. And then apparently he responded. He responded to me. So I'm not someone who's had rap beef or anything to do with that. I don't clearly want rap beef. I want to make that very clear. But I've had, speaking of, J. Cole, I've had Dreamville associates coming after me and Ray. And now I've had a CyHi The Prince is being sarcastic. I think he took it in stride. I don't think he was being super serious. But we'll break that down, and hopefully I'll be able to break it down with a really special guest today I'm really excited about. So Brandon Nix, who has been a podcast audio producer for various different big time companies. You're talking about The Athletic, you're talking about Slate, you're talking about ESPN, and you're talking about Sports Illustrated. He'll be joining me live at 7 p.m. We'll talk about the NBA season. We'll talk about previewing the upcoming baseball season. He's a huge baseball fan, a huge Mets fan, so I'm excited to have him on. This is, again, this platform for me is about giving other people the mic and other people opportunities to showcase their talent and to just rap with them a little bit. People that inspire me, people that I think are dope in this industry. I want to give them that platform and just share the mic with them. And Brandon, someone, when I started this live stream series and when I had the concept of it, I told him that I expected to have him on. Because, again, this is not someone who's linked to anything regarding my work with Infinity or WFAN or it's signed in New York one. We have a mutual friend from New York one. Shout out to Janae. Shout out to Janae, our good friend Janae Hunter. But we did go to the same grad school. We both went to the Craig Newmark School of Journalism, so that is a connection there. And we both love sports. And Brandon's a great dude, and you guys will love him. And I'm really excited to have him on the show later tonight. He'll be on at 7 o'clock with me later today. That's going to be a lot of fun. So 40 Days, 40 Nights, your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live multiple spots, including live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you get a chance. Greatly appreciate it. Also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. Make sure you follow your boy on X. And streaming live on Instagram Live, Action EJs, where you'll find me there. Also follow me on TikTok as well, where I'm also at Action EJ, posted some videos from TikTok. Big shout out to my guy Zach Gelb, who was on last night. I posted one of the videos from our conversation last night regarding Adam Silver. That is up on all my social media platforms, so make sure you follow me wherever you can. But let's get the ball rolling. Let's begin with this Jets trade. So this happened while I was streaming. And this is the thing when you stream live. Again, I don't got no producer. I don't got no person to come in. Andrea damn sure ain't gonna come in and say, hey, did you hear about the Jets trade? That ain't gonna happen. So I'm just here solo dolo. And if I don't see it come across my feed or I don't see it come across my phone, I'm trying to be locked in. I don't be looking at my phone every 2 seconds while I'm actually doing a live stream show with you guys. I try to be locked in. So I don't see everything. But I guess it seemed to happen around the last 35 or 40 minutes or so. I guess I didn't have too many Jets fans in my chat earlier today, or Titans fans, because no one seemed to want to go in and say, hey, did you see Jermaine Johnson got traded? And not to say that these are huge names, but it is a significant trade. So the Jets are trading their former first-round pick, Jermaine Johnson, to the Tennessee Titans for nose tackle Devontae Sweat from the Tennessee Titans, formerly of Texas. So Jermaine Johnson was part of that kind of mega first-round class they had a couple years ago for the Jets, where they drafted Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and then also Jermaine Johnson. And then, of course, Breece Hall, that was like the guys, the group that was supposed to come in and kind of usher this new era of Jets football alongside Zach Wilson, who was drafted, obviously, the previous year with AVT. So, Jermaine Johnson, rookie year was okay. Second year was pretty good, but the Jets, fell short of aspirations. Then he tears his Achilles. He tears his Achilles in the third year. This is the year, obviously, where Aaron Rodgers is back and playing. He tears his Achilles in the second game of the season in Tennessee, which was a devastating injury. He was someone that the Jets and a lot of fans, a lot of people around the NFL were kind of expecting to have a breakout year in that third year because some of the signs they saw in the previous year and some of the stuff he was doing in training camp. He was expected to be a star for the New York Jets. And I always talk about how the Jets were actually losing that game. They were kind of not playing that great against Tennessee. And I thought he actually turned the game around with his energy and his physicality, not just in the run game, but also in the pass rush. And then he tears his Achilles. It was devastating. It was a tough injury. And he's come back, but of course, you're still wishing him well in terms of coming back from that injury. But he gets hurt, so he misses the rest of the year. He comes back this year. He doesn't look like the same player. That I think is a fair assessment for him. He looked a little better towards the end of the season. You saw a couple more splash plays here and there. But when you're talking about a Jet team that was in a lot of blowouts and you talked about playing out the string, it's hard to really evaluate whether or not that's something we can really latch our teeth into and say, okay, Jermaine Johnson is going to be back to being a star, or is this kind of just run-of-the-mill, guys playing out the string and he's making plays. But Jermaine Johnson, all accounts, good guy, all accounts, a great teammate. Impact player, obviously, for the Florida State Seminoles in their undefeated year where they were not allowed to play for a national championship. Well, actually, no, my bad. He wasn't on it that year. He was the year before, I believe. But nonetheless, a impact player at Florida State, impact player for the Jets. Injuries kind of screwed up his career, and now he gets shipped out for T'Vondre Sweat, who this trade speaks to a massive shift in philosophy, in my opinion, for the New York Jets. Because Jermaine Johnson is a prototypical 4-3 defensive end. A guy who can rush the passer, but is physical and strong enough in the run game, at least in theory, and stout in the run game, to where he can hold his own on the run. That was what he was built to do. He was drafted by Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, and we know Robert Saleh comes for that 49ers kind of Seahawks style of defense, originated from the Legion of Boom type defense. Like, we know what kind of defensive ends those teams kind of look for. For them to trade Jermaine Johnson, bring in T'Vondre Sweat, who is now was from Tennessee, where Robert Saleh is currently coaching. That is the new team. He is the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. It speaks to, I think, for the Titans, hey, Jermaine Johnson makes sense for the fit because Robert Saleh liked him coming out of the draft and he drafted him. He loves him. But to trade T'Vondre Sweat, who's also one of their most impactful players on the defensive line, but is a nose tackle, more traditional nose tackle, and that the Jets would have interest, suggests that the Jets may be going to a more 3-4 look. Because T'Vondre Sweat is not going to play probably a typical 4-3 defensive tackle kind of position. He is massive. You're talking about a guy who's about 360 pounds, about 6'3", 6'4", a true run stuffer, but also a guy who can pass rush a little bit as well. But definitely this guy is put in the middle of your defensive line to clog up blockers to allow your linebackers to run free. That is why you would want a player like T'Vondre Sweat. And he's been pretty good. I mean, this is just his second year in the NFL. He's playing on a miserable team. So, but for what we've seen from him from his early stuff in the NFL, he's a former second-round pick. He's not been a bust. I wouldn't tell you he's been a superstar or anything, but he's been perfectly fine, and he's going to come in and he's going to start. Like this, he's going to play on the team next year. He's going to be the starting nose tackle, I would expect. I know they'll have Harrison Phillips, perhaps, who's still going to be part of the mix. But this, to me, shifts the focus for the Jets to what I expect to be a 3-4 front, which I was trying to remember. Like, I guess the Lions, when Aaron Glenn was there, they played a little 3-4 every now and then. You did see Aiden Hutchinson sometimes good in a stand-up position, but I didn't necessarily look at them as a straight 3-4 team. But that seems to be what the kind of defense Aaron Glenn is going to try to build with this Jets team. Because you bring in T'Vondre Sweat, you trade Jermaine Johnson, which opens up that edge spot. Because what we've been talking about with the Jets a ton was they kind of got screwed with where the draft order shook out, because they're a team that has 2 first-round edge rushers in Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, but the best players who are available at number 2 are likely edge guys. You're talking about David Bailey Arvo Reese is an off-ball linebacker, but someone that I think NFL teams think could maybe move over to the outside and be kind of an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, potentially kind of like a Micah Parsons, or you're talking about potentially a Ruben Bain. Like, these are the kind of guys that you're talking about at the top of the draft. And for the Jets, when you got all these edge rushers, it's like, well, does it make sense to just draft yet another edge rusher? But it makes more sense if you move off of Jermaine Johnson, and then when you talk about two of the guys in this class, Reese and David Bailey, two guys that I think would match the fit more as a prototypical speed rusher from that outside linebacker position off the edge. That, to me, points to where the Jets are going to go with this second pick, I think. I would assume that it's going to be Bailey, Reese, or I also throw Ruben Bain in there. Now, we got to talk about Ruben Bain because, you know, the talk of the combine was going to be what were his arm measurements going to look like, because we get to the weird things. We've had Kenny Pickett with the small hands. We've had all these different weird measurements that you never know are a big deal until some guy shows up and say, whoa, this is a big deal. That's Ruben Bain. He's the main character of the combine because of this. So everybody wouldn't know what his arms were. And the magic number essentially being 32 inches. If you have 32-inch arms, you're usually a pretty good, you know, position where you can be a great player. If it's anything less than 32, especially if it's less than 31, then most of those guys who get drafted are bust. This is reality. There are a couple of guys that were okay. Dwight Freeney was pretty good. Was obviously pretty good. He was a Hall of Famer. Dwight Freeney was great. But a lot of other guys were like, there's not too many guys to find in terms of dominant or even very good pass rushers who were had less than 32-inch arms. Ruben Bain comes out to 30-inch arms, 30 and 7/8, I believe. So a little under 31, which is not good if you're one of these people who believe in the arm length thing. I will say this. I've been pushing for Ruben Bain to be the number 2 pick for the New York Jets for weeks now. There's been people who think that Ruben Bain may make more sense as a 3-4 outside linebacker or a 3-4 defensive end, either one, but particularly with the opportunity maybe being more stand-up mode, gives him more opportunity to use some of the power, natural power he has coming off the edge, and some of the more the bend that he has that they always talk about, that bend you got to have coming off that edge. They may give him a little more of a chance despite his short arms. I will stand 10 toes down and die on any hill that is in support of Ruben Bain being an NFL star. I can't lie or deny the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. If you have short arms, you usually stink. I would bet everything that this guy will be able to figure it out, because maybe I'm biased, but I think the bias actually helps me because I've watched him so much. This guy is a monster, which is what he told the people in the draft combine yesterday when he did his interview. This guy's a monster, and he's ridiculously strong. And like I said, the explosion and the bend that he has coming off the edge, I just feel like, and I saw someone, I forgot who it was. I don't want to give credit to somebody who didn't say this, but one of these draft experts said that I think it was Ben Solak. I'm pretty sure. He's like, Ruben Bain should be fine because of the natural power he has. Like, he's so freaking strong. And that combination with the bend he has, you can get away with not having the longest of arms. I watched the guy dominate college football for an entire year. The first few weeks of the season, he was the best player in the country. There were some people who thought he should be in the Heisman race because how dominant he was. The whole Miami team seemed to take the middle of the season off, which is a yearly thing. And they were like triple teaming him. So teams also tried to adjust to Ruben Bain and what he was doing, because he was wrecking every team's offense for the first 2 months of the season, essentially. November came, and then everything, all hell broke loose. But then we saw them pick it up at the end. Bain picked up his play at the end, and then in the playoffs, he was, besides Fernando Mendoza, you could make the case that he was the second best player in the playoffs of all players. Maybe Trinidad Chambliss, maybe he's 3. He's in that top 3, I would probably say, of the best players in the entire college football playoffs. Completely unblockable. If I'm a Jet fan, I look at this, I think he could play in a 3-4 or 4-3. I would also throw him in that mix. But to me, Jermaine Johnson being gone certainly means that edge is in play. And I think those smaller guys, particularly Reese, and I think David Bailey, if you had to ask me right now who I think the pick's going to be, I think it's David Bailey. By the way, we want to talk about combine. Did you see his 40 time today? I try not to be Mr. Workout Warrior, but that guy ran a 4.51 at the combine. 4.51 for an edge rusher. Flying, I mean, he was flying. I was like, whew. I mean, that, and he plays that fast. This is the Texas Tech edge rusher. I'd be fine with him too. I'd be good with Bailey. Me and Zach were going back and forth. I think they'll be fine either way. I'm not as big an Arvell Reese fan as everyone else is. I feel like Micah Parsons is making him a lot of money. I thought Abdul Carter maybe would kind of like make people pause because Abdul Carter wasn't that great last year. But to me, Reese is good, and the physical, again, athleticism, he didn't run today, but I'm sure when we see him run at his pro day or whatever, and we see the measurables, those are going to also be extremely impressive, I would assume. But he struck me as a guy who was a Tasmanian devil as a blitzer, but was not a consistent edge guy. So, again, what it really is the Micah Parsons dilemma that the Cowboys had, where they decided, we're going to just turn him into an edge rusher, and that worked out great. But that's not going to be the story for every single player. I think if I'm choosing between Bailey or Reese, I prefer Bailey because I know exactly what he is. Reese, if he ends up being more of a, between the hashes kind of middle linebacker type guy, I'm not drafting that guy number 2. Even if he's awesome, I'm not drafting number 2. I need to find a more premium position and take my flyer on that than I would. And that's to say that doesn't mean he can't be an edge guy, but that's not really his kind of the one spot he played at Ohio State. It kind of moved him around all over the place. So give me the more natural fit guy with Reese, but I also wouldn't put Bain out there. But man, this is a shift for the Jets to trade Jermaine Johnson here. And I think you'll see them play more of a 3-4 style, which means that there are going to be probably a lot more changes that are coming too. So the Jets are in a good position. You have about $80 million in cap space. Maybe they're able to create more with a couple more moves. There's going to be a lot of guys in free agency. We've already heard the rumors today about Alex Anzalone from the Detroit Lions, who, there's been the tampering period hasn't started yet, but the fact that we're already hearing that the Jets are being linked to him tells me that maybe there's something where illegally the Jets have made some comments and called some people and made some voicemails or whatever, and they let it be known that they want him, and maybe there's mutual interest. So there's going to be guys for the Jets to fill out this defense to fit more what Aaron Glenn wants to do. But this is a big shift for the Jets to trade Jermaine Johnson. And the last thing I'll say, because one of the things we heard today, I think it was from Connor Hughes, was that Jermaine Johnson was very clear about wanting to move on. He didn't want to be a Jet anymore. And like I said, Jermaine Johnson, by all accounts, is a good locker room guy, a good guy. And to me, like, there were a couple of things I didn't like when he rolled his eyes when they asked him about the coach saying they didn't play hard when they got beat by like 30 points. He's rolling his eyes. I didn't love that moment. It's a tough season. Guys are going to have tough moments. I'm not going to go crazy over that. But what I will say is, and something that brings me to why I love Ruben Bain so much, why I think he should be the guy to come in here, is the Jets, they drafted talented guys. Like, Quinnen Williams is talented. Sauce Gardner is talented. Jermaine Johnson is talented, and hopefully he can get back to being full strength when he gets, back from his Achilles injury. He played last season. Hopefully this year he'll be back to full strength. I hope he has a great year with the Tennessee Titans. I don't really root against any of these guys, but playing for the Jets is hard. It is almost mission impossible. And what I've seen from those 3 guys, what I saw from Aaron Rodgers, and some of what I've seen from Breece Hall, but he's so talented and there's no reason to get rid of him. I think he's going to stay here, I think. I just don't, like, those guys to me, just, they weren't equipped. They didn't have the football character it takes to turn around the New York Jets. And I don't even mean that as like a slight. I really want to, and even with, I'm including Aaron Rodgers, who I always diss. But like, the Jets suck. It's a freaking terrible organization. And you got to put up with a lot of crap. And I think what we saw from those guys were they were good players, but there were times where those guys also underachieved, where those guys didn't get the job done. And in order to sit through the fire and walk through the fire of being a New York Jet, which means dealing with the media, dealing with the scrutiny, dealing with the chaos within the organization, it takes a special person, a really special player, to sit through that and find a way to be the change agent for this organization. Those guys were not change agents. Quinnen Williams may go to the Dallas Cowboys and he may be a change agent for them. Sauce Gardner may end up being a change agent for the Colts, and And listen, Tennessee is also a rough organization. But Jermaine Johnson may go to Tennessee and be a change agent for them. And I'm not even, like, that could very well happen. Those guys could all be very good in those spots. Those spots are not the Jets. They don't come with the same challenges. They don't come with the same obstacles. And I'm happy those guys are gone because I don't think that they fit here. Not from a talent standpoint, but from, man, just how bad things are. It's just going to take a really, really special group of guys to turn this thing around. And we hope that these guys were the guys. They weren't it. Some of it came down to injury for Jermaine Johnson for sure, for Aaron Rodgers for sure. For some other guys, it was, you know, the team around them, coaches, the ownership. It's a mess. It's a mess. I hope these guys do well wherever they go. But if you don't want to be here, you're not the person for this. Because this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be pretty. and that's, you know, I look at these guys. These are guys that went to college programs that won a ton. Like Jermaine Johnson basically showed up. He was originally at Georgia where they were winning national championships. And then he transferred to Florida State and they were really good when he was there. Like Quinnen Williams, Alabama, you know, soft in Cincinnati, but they were winning a ton under Luke Fickell when he was there. All these guys have won a ton. So when you get to a place like the Jets and things are run so poorly after you came from a college program where things are done so professionally, it's a culture shock. And again, to get out of that and be the culture change that you need to be, it's not for everybody. There are great players who can't fix that thing. So that's just my last thing on Jermaine Johnson. I wish him luck. I wish all those guys luck. But if you weren't going to be about this, you were crowing all this whole time, just like Quinnen Williams was crowing this whole time about not being happy, not being on a losing team. Like, you got to be the person that turns things around. Like, that was my beef with Sauce and Quinnen after Aaron Rodgers got cut. Where they were doing all these, you know, passive-aggressive, him and hawing and, oh, here we go again and all this stuff. I'm like, wait, I'm sorry. You guys are all pro players. You guys should be the guys that say, oh, you know what? They traded Aaron Rodgers. It don't matter. This defense next year is going to be awesome. We're going to be dominant. And it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We're going to do everything we can do to turn this thing around. I think their will got broken playing for the Jets. And it's the Jets. I guess why I can't have anger or like any like resentment in my heart. But I also got, like I said, EJ keeps it 100. I always got to keep it a buck. If this ain't for you, then it ain't for you. Then you got to go somewhere else. So I hope those guys do well. I hope Jermaine Johnson does well, except when he plays against the Jets, if the Titans play against the Jets, because they are in the AFC. But otherwise, yeah, let's see what T'Vondre Sweat's got. I think that he's a good fit for what the Jets appear to want to do. Now I'm excited about what happens with the draft and who they end up taking at number 2. Aaron Glenn. Even on what I think most people feel like was a pretty good day for the Jets. Some people looking at all the players they've traded and say, oh my God, how many teams trade all their first round picks for the last 5 years essentially. But outside, in terms of just the player they got and the fit, everything, I think most people feel like this was a good move really for both teams. But, and then, you know, you got David Bailey, you know, lighting it up at the combine, and you turn to Aaron Glenn and he's sleeping. And it's the combine. These guys certainly have long days. I know a lot of these people don't care as much about the combine. Some coaching staff don't even show up. So I don't want to make too much more about it than whatever. But it's like, really? The one time they show you on camera for a guy that is going to be linked to the Jets and you're sleeping. And by the way, the guy runs a 4.51. Maybe you should stay awake. Anyway, let's keep the ball rolling. Shout out to Jermaine Johnson. Thank you for your services. But again, I think if you're not ready for this, then we don't need you in the locker room. I mean, go somewhere else. That's just where we are at this point in time when it comes to Jets football. Anthony Richardson is going to be allowed to seek a trade from the Indianapolis Colts. So we heard this a couple weeks ago that it was expected that Anthony Richardson would request a trade. I assume that request had already happened or did happen, and the Colts said, cool, go talk to other teams and see who else wants you. When this usually happens, this usually actually doesn't go that great. Like, I think this essentially probably shows, the Colts being like, hey, man, like, I don't know if we can get any value for you, but if you find something that we don't see, then go ahead. Because we've seen this movie in Song and Dance before where a guy says, all right, I'm going to go seek a trade somewhere, and then they can't find somebody to give any reasonable compensation. I actually wonder if this ends with Anthony Richardson just being flat out released from the Colts. Will anyone give up anything of value for this guy? He is extremely athletic. He was highly touted coming out of high school, going to Florida, and then we talk about the Colts, and we could definitely dunk on the Colts for drafting this guy. But there were a lot of people who were trying to make a case for Anthony Richardson in the NFL. I don't remember what I thought about him, but I think I was high on him too. I think, I didn't think he should have started. That I was like, that is a bad idea. He should not start. He's going to have to sit and watch for a year at least. They threw him into the fire, and that was a terrible mistake. So now he is going to be allowed to seek a trade. I don't expect the Colts to think they're going to get much for him if they're allowing him to seek a trade. That tells me that they probably kicked the can around the league already and haven't heard much. So I think this is kind of like a Hail Mary. Say, hey, go find someone else that maybe suggests that they will give you something that we don't see. Because you never know. Maybe the agent can talk to them. Maybe they can meet with Anthony Richardson and he can pitch them on, I'll be a backup, or I'm willing to compete, or whatever they want from him. And maybe they'll then change their minds and say, all right, here's a 5th round pick, or here's a 6th round pick for this guy, and give him a flyer. Again, I know I've made it clear I do not want him on the Jets. I saw the Justin Fields story, quarterback who's generally inaccurate but extremely athletic, who has the physical tools you would think to maybe be a star. Let's see if the right coaches can get around him and figure it out. The Jets tried that with Justin Richardson. It couldn't have gone worse. It was an absolute disaster. So you can't do that again. So then you look for other teams. If I was Anthony Richardson, like I said before, unless they are saying that we're going to cut you or something like that, I don't know why you just don't chill there. I would have chilled. I would not have tried to get traded here. Daniel Jones is coming off another serious injury. He tore his Achilles. This is a guy who also has a torn ACL from a couple years ago. This is a guy who's also had neck issues. He's a walking injury. He also sometimes blows up and doesn't play well. He could very well lose his job because of poor performance. I know it's a contract year, so he wants to get somewhere where he may have an opportunity to play. I'm not sure if that's possible, but even if it was possible, the Colts have good players. They have a good team, and you didn't win the job coming out of camp this year, but I would have maybe said, listen, let me sit here and see what happens. If you didn't hurt your eye in that terrible incident before the game where you're working with an exercise band and it hits you in the face and you had this serious eye injury, if that doesn't happen, Phil Rivers never sees the field. Anthony Richardson sees the field. And with the Colts team that was right in the thick of a playoff race, maybe Anthony Richardson he could have played better than Phil Rivers in theory. Phil Rivers, he had a really good game against the 49ers, but otherwise was like, okay. He was really good for a 47-year-old, but otherwise he was just okay. Like, he may have won those games, and maybe the Colts made the playoffs. And now maybe you have the pick of the litter of all the teams you want, or maybe the Colts can end up getting a lot for you and send you to a place where you'll start next year. That's totally still on the table for potentially this year. We don't know where Daniel Jones is going to be in terms of his health to start the season. He's going to have to play through the season coming from a torn Achilles, where we've now seen, we just mentioned Jermaine Johnson, we can talk about Aaron Rodgers, we can talk about a ton of athletes now, where it's becoming very clear that first year after the Achilles is rough to think that you're going to be the same guy. Second year, you could be a lot closer to what you were prior to the injury. So Daniel Jones is going to try to come back from this in his first year when he already had limitations as a quarterback. I would have just chilled in Indy and said, let's see how this is going to shake out. I'm not going to be in a rush to get out of here. I want to see if I can, if I'm not going to win the job, but maybe I can stay here. He gets hurt, and I go out there. I get to play a couple games, and I'm playing with, still got Jonathan Taylor, still got a great running game on offensive line. Still don't know about whether or not Alec Pierce is going to be back or how the receivers shake out, but they have some pretty good receivers. They got Ty Warren, who's a monster at tight end. I would have just chilled. Now, I think some of that comes with pride. You lose your starting job after being the number 4 overall pick, and you kind of become the poster child of a bust in that city and with that community. And sometimes all of that stuff comes with maybe it being kind of impossible in his eyes to think that he should leave the Colts. But I don't really understand why he'd want to leave, because I don't think that there's going to be I don't know if there's a starting job for him out there. Like, we can do the teams now. I'm looking at the teams now. Does Miami take a flyer on him? Do you want to play for the Dolphins? I mean, he may want to live in Miami, but I don't know. Do you want to play for the Dolphins? I don't know. I don't think the Jets are going to look at him because of what happened with Justin Fields. I just don't think he's going to be at all part of the conversation because Justin Fields failed so miserably. So even if that was an option for him, even if he was willing to play it, I don't think the Jets would make a move for him. I don't think Cleveland's added him to that weird trio of quarterbacks that they have, though, who knows with them? They'll do anything weird. They're not trading him in the division, so eliminate everybody in the South. And the West, could you maybe back up Fernando Mendoza? Like, that's really all you're doing, really. Maybe you back up Patrick Mahomes. Do the Chiefs look at him as like a reclamation project? And they say, hey, like, he's the guy that's going to back up Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, or if he's not ready to go, we'll play Anthony Richardson for a little bit. It doesn't seem like, the natural fit for them. So, okay, you go to the NFC where it's a little more likely where a trade would happen, you would think. I don't see anybody in the NFC East being interested in him to start, for sure. I don't see anybody in the NFC North being interested in him to start, I don't think. Minnesota, that's the one that's weird, only because I keep thinking about that conversation that we saw that was mic'd up with Kevin O'Connell, and Anthony Richardson. This was after he got benched for the pulling himself out, tapping his helmet because he was out of gas. And then they wanted to slow down the season and say, hey, you're gonna have to sit down because this is really bad PR, and you're not being a leader with how you're approaching this. So that mic'd up session where he goes over to Kevin O'Connell, and the NFL, shout out to NFL Films for showing it because they didn't have to show it. And Kevin O'Connell says, hey man, I want you to know I think you're still really talented, and you're gonna figure it out in this league. Keep your head up, stay confident. Like, I believe in your talents. Which guys always say, yo man, you the best, yo man, I love you man, yo you doing your thing, keep doing your thing, young fella. Like, people always say that stuff after games, but it seemed a little like far out there for a sitting head coach to why would he knows he's mic'd up, why would he feel the need to jump out there for Anthony Richardson in some major way? I don't know any connection Kevin O'Connell would have to Anthony Richardson or Florida. I don't know. That could be. Maybe the QB coaches, maybe his trainer, who knows? So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything behind the scenes that would make sense for why he would want to give him that kind of support at what was such a low time for his career. But that did happen. And the Vikings, I know, are not all that in love with J.J. McCarthy. At least that's what it appears to be. But do you want to go from, we're going to have one project compete against another project? Again, I think it would make more sense to go after someone like Kirk Cousins to compete with J.J. McCarthy and be an option. I don't think you want to go to, all right, J.J. McCarthy stinks. Let's go to the other guy with a 55% completion percentage. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But that's the one that maybe you think about. NFC South, I don't see him starting any of these places. Could he go and back up Bryce Young in theory? I know I heard Andy Dalton may be going elsewhere, I guess. But now, again, you're talking about a backup spot. Could he back up in Tampa? Again, now you're talking about a backup spot. And then the West, which we always going to keep pointing to the Arizona Cardinals, because somebody's got to play quarterback for them. If it's not going to be Kyler Murray, somebody's going to play there. And I don't think it's going to be Jacoby Brissett again. Arizona, that's probably one of the teams I would at least keep an eye on, only because they're in a position where I think they might want to tank. And they might be who the Jets were last year, where they're like, let's get a guy who is not going to ruin our tank if he is, he's not going to ruin our tank. Either he's going to be really good and we'll be happy with the progression we have and we'll be fine with winning 8 games or whatever, or he's going to stick. And I think that may be the spot for Anthony Richardson, where maybe Anthony Richardson says, okay, I'll go there and I'll start. And I don't think that's going to go well. Yeah, he's got Trey McBride there, but that division is absolutely hellacious. So good luck trying to make any headway in the division that includes the Super Bowl champion Seahawks, the NFC runner-up in the Rams, and the 49ers, who won a playoff game last year. They may not have George Kittle for most of the season, but still, that's a tough division. He shouldn't duck smoke. He's playing for his career. He can't worry about that. But my point being is I don't see this great fit for him, which is why, again, I'm like, I might just chill with the Colts for a year. If you don't play because Daniel Jones comes out, plays great, has no issues with his Achilles, okay, you don't play, then you go into free agency, and now somebody's going to pick him up. He's not somebody that would just be out of the league, I think, after next year. I would never imagine that. He would have an opportunity. How many opportunities Trey Lance had? Trey Lance is on his third team. Trey Lance is somehow still somebody's quarterback number 2. I keep thinking, man, they better hope that Justin Herbert actually doesn't miss games. The guy's a warrior; he'll play every week. Because every time Trey Lance goes out there in preseason stuff, I'm like, yeah, doesn't look that pretty. So he would have gotten signed if he plays next year for the Colts and he doesn't get an opportunity to actually get on the field because Daniel Jones starts all 17 games. But I would have stuck it out. That's how I honestly feel. But if he's gonna go anywhere, if there's any spot that I think I would keep an eye on, it would be the Cardinals in Minnesota. Cardinals maybe want to take an absolute flyer on a great athlete and see if that works out. And the Cardinals, and then the Vikings, simply because of the Kevin O'Connell connection. I think there's a connection there. Who's to say? I don't know. But we'll see, man. Hopefully Anthony Richardson finds a home. He does seem like a guy who definitely wants to be great. So I hope they're able to find a way to reach that potential that he certainly hopes he has. It's 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live multiple spots, including on YouTube, New Generation Media, streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart, and streaming live on Instagram, Action EJ. So it's 7 o'clock, and I told you he'd be here. So joining me now, live here, is my good friend, Brandon Nix. You're talking about working at ESPN. You're talking about working at Slate. You're talking about working at The Athletic. So I'm really excited to have Brandon here. Brandon, how you doing, man?
I'm good, EJ. Thanks for inviting me on, man. It's a pleasure, man.
Appreciate you, man. And this is going to be fun, and we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it, man. We're in the second half of the NBA season here, so I'm wearing my Knicks shirt. I don't necessarily feel great about where the team stands right now, simply because of the regular season being the regular season, but I'm not someone jumping out the window. I think that for a lot of these other teams, like the Pistons, like the Cavs, like they have something to prove. They have something to prove in the postseason. The Knicks don't. So I think that losing to these teams in the regular season doesn't drive me super, super crazy. But do you think there's reason for the Knicks to be concerned at this point?
A little bit. I think, number one, Deuce McBride's injury, that's a tough one because that's one of your best two-way players.
Yep.
That's a guy that comes off the bench and gives you that energy, gives you that scoring, could defend some really tough players on the perimeter. As you know, with the Eastern Conference, it's rough, man, because it's like, take your pick.
Yep.
Do you want to guard Kay Cunningham? Do you want to guard James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown? You know, you need a guy like Deuce McBride, you know, to come through, especially during playoff time. Because these Eastern Conference teams, and it's funny, before I came on here, I thought about this. You know, before the season started, I don't think people thought the path for the Knicks to make the finals was easy. But a lot of us thought, okay, well, it's, you know, everything is right there in front of you, you know. It shouldn't be super challenging. It should be challenging enough to the point where you're able to get through most teams, and maybe Detroit is your biggest competition, right?
Yep.
Now, as we've gotten past halfway through the season, and then you hear this news about Jason Tatum, and someone as someone like me, as a Celtics hater, that I don't want none of that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's just, man. And then even the Sixers, like,
yeah,
they're a bit of a mess. But you look at that team and you go, that's not no easy challenge neither.
Yep.
So I do think the Knicks, they have to be concerned a little bit. Losing to the Pistons, I don't think is something that you have to be down about. Let's be honest, that Pistons team, it's just a really good team. Like,
yep, it is.
And you have to remember too, they didn't have Isaiah Stewart last year in the playoffs. And I was very concerned for them last year when they were going up against the Pistons in the first round, because that team has the size, they got the right star player, and they have the versatility. Oh, and by the way, the coach too, right? That, like, I mean, of course, he got out-coached.
He did.
During the playoffs against Tibbs, but yeah, man, that team has everything. So them losing to the Pistons three times this season, they shouldn't hang their heads on that. I don't think Knicks fans should be crazy about that. The Pistons are that damn good. The other teams, in my opinion, losing to the Celtics, and, you know, I mean, I know the Cavs have James Harden, but I don't respect them defensively.
That's what I've said too. Yeah, I said the same thing.
Interior-wise, yes, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are a problem. But perimeter-wise, no. You should be able to take care of that. But, yeah, I think there should be a little bit concern. I think the one saving grace they have, as you know, Jose Alvarado, he's been doing a phenomenal job.
Yep.
That is their saving grace right there. Hopefully Deuce McBride comes back, you know what I mean, for the playoffs. But in the case that he doesn't, well, let's just say he comes back like second round. Or in the case, let's just say, in the case that he doesn't, I think you're going to have to lean heavily on guys like a Landry Shaman and a Jose Alvarado. But I do believe Jose Alvarado is built for this. And you got to remember, playing in New Orleans all those years, I mean, they only made the playoffs once or twice when he was there?
Well, yeah,
So,
I think once, right? Yeah, he's been playing a couple times, but definitely once in the playoffs.
Yeah, dude is hungry, and he's from here. Dude's starving. He's starving to win something. So you know what I mean? Like, I expect big things from that guy, but yeah, a little bit concerned, but not too much of a concern.
Brandon Nix joins me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights for night 34 of this journey that I'm on, where I'm doing 2 live stream shows per day. Really excited to have Brandon here. Yeah, and you mentioned the Cavs and the perimeter defense. That's something I basically said on this show as well. Because when I watched the game that Knicks played with them a couple nights ago, first of all, they guarded really well. I mean, the Knicks shot extremely poorly. But I think they got great minutes defensively from Keon Ellis, from Dennis Schroeder. Neither guy gave them much offensively, but the Knicks shot the ball so poorly that you can keep those guys on the floor for extended periods of time. I think the Cavs will run into trouble when you get to the playoffs, when you're going to want to play Donovan Mitchell probably 38, 39, 40 minutes plus, and you're probably going to play James Harden about 40 minutes plus. Where are you finding minutes for those perimeter defenders coming off the bench who are a little smaller in size to come in and guard the way you're going to need them to guard? And are they going to be able to provide enough offense during those stretches to do that? Schroeder was, again, terrible offensively the other night. He hasn't really had a great season. Keon Ellis is a good player, but neither guy is a guy who's coming in to score. So that is where I have a little concerns for the Cavs. And then I had my good friend Dexter Henry on here, and he had one of the funniest lines we've had on the show, which is, if you're the Cavaliers, you better hope your series doesn't go to a Game 6 or Game 7. You better hope you win in 5. Because if it goes to 6 or 7, you know what's going to happen to James Harden. And it's hard to deny that. Like, I was going
to bring that up too.
It's hard to deny. I mean, James Harden's history in Game 6 and Game 7s are what they are. So I have also had trouble really believing in the Cavs. What do you think in terms of the West? Like, I kind of said here, yesterday I haven't really given a huge pick, but or before the season I picked the Nuggets to come out of the West. I haven't seen anything that's really like shaking me to move off of them. They've had some injuries this year, and they're still been one of the top 4 or 5 teams in West all season. Jamal Murray is still a postseason assassin, and Jokic is still Jokic. And I think in the postseason, I think he would still be a major problem for all these teams they're facing. Now they got to get, Aaron Gordon's a huge piece for them, and he's got to be healthy. But where do you see the West in terms of, do you think it's a Thunder Invitational where we're just kind of waiting for them to get back to the finals, or is there a team that could challenge OKC?
I mean, you mentioned it, the Denver Nuggets. Also, I'm looking at the Houston Rockets. I know Houston has like a point guard issue thing going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because I thought they would have addressed that during the trade deadline, but I guess they didn't. I guess they're just like, all right, we're just going to roll out the team that we got. Kevin Durant, man, just take the ball up and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But when I look at the West, for me, it's 3 teams. It's Denver, it's OKC, and it's Houston. Oh, and sorry, let me add a 4th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have San Antonio in there? Okay.
Yeah, the thing with San Antonio is that they're young and they don't really have any playoff experience like that. I mean, look, I guess Wembanyama would be so incredible that you can throw all that out the window. But being that it will be his first playoffs, as they say, man, regular season speed and regular season play is different than playoff speed and playoff play. It's more physical. The game slowed down.
Yep.
And we got 7 games to lock in on you and what you do best. So, I think they'll put on a good fight. I don't know if they'll make the Western Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals, but I expect them to give whoever they play a good challenge. So I'm looking at those 4 teams. If I had to pick out of those 4, if OKC is fully healthy, fully healthy, everybody is back, everybody's fully functioning, I'm leaning on them. Not a guarantee, of course, but I'm going to lean on them. From top to bottom, best roster in the whole league. Like I mentioned with Detroit, got the versatility, got long, tall bodies, got multiple guys who can score, and you got a closer a closer in SGA, one of the best in the game today. I like Denver as well. Don't know if they have enough in terms of their full roster.
Depth, yeah.
Houston, the depth. Thank you. Houston, I'm not sure about their point guard situation. Good God, Fred VanVleet getting hurt really.
They're a weird team to evaluate. I agree. I mean, Houston,
and that too.
Yeah, I just think that, like, I think you make a great point about the point guard situation. Like, FVV goes down, and you're thinking, okay, there's going to be some move that you're going to have to do to address this. And what we've seen from them in a lot of points in the season, you saw it when they played Knicks a couple nights ago, is when you get down the stretch of a game, for maybe 40 minutes, 45, even 43 minutes of a game, you can kind of play kind of what a lot of people in the NBA and Kobe Bryant used to say, kind of random basketball, where you're kind of throwing the ball around, playing within the system. Guys just
accidental basketball.
Yeah, exactly. And you're getting good shots. You got good players, so you'll get good offense. Kevin Durant's your engine. You're going to get good shots regularly.
Yeah.
But when the game gets bogged down to a half-court game and you need a point guard or a floor general to settle you down, that's where you need someone like a Fred VanVleet who knows, I need to get Kevin Durant the ball in this spot, or Alperen Sengun the ball in this spot, or simply have somebody who's going to be strong with the ball, who's not going to turn the ball over. And the Rockets have had too many issues down the stretch of games all season where that has been a problem for them. They didn't fix it. I think, Reed Sheppard was the guy they drafted in the top 3 the year before, right? So, and Reed Sheppard's had a pretty good year. But
he's had moments. He's definitely had moments, but not good enough, or not enough for me to believe that you can lean on him and you can win this whole thing.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, again, they were talking about now this is going to be his first real run in the playoffs. He didn't play much last year in the playoffs. So now he's going to be probably playing some closing lineups. He's going to be asked to do a lot more. A couple of nights ago, they basically went, again, with no point guard down the stretch. It was just Amin Thompson, who is kind of like a pseudo point guard, but not a natural point guard. That is going to be a problem. That's why I have a hard time believing in the Rockets. And the Spurs, the thing about the Spurs, what I've seen is typically the first go-around with a core that looks like a future contender, there's always going to be hiccups. There's always using an earlier exit maybe than normal. The Thunder a couple years ago, remember, they were a number 1 seed, and they get the Dallas Mavericks in the second round, and Luka Doncic takes over, and they're not able to overcome that because it's their first go-around in the playoffs. There are so many other stories of that where it's rare you see a team in the first time they're all together, they go straight to the NBA Finals, even though the Spurs, with their guard play and their ability to attack the paint, and then Victor Wembanyama being the alien that he is, I know one thing, the Thunder are probably very fortunate and very hopeful that inexperience would be the reason why maybe they don't got to see them in the playoffs, because I wonder if they can beat the Nuggets in a potential second-round matchup, or beat a team like the Rockets, or even the T-Bulls maybe potentially. The Spurs are a team that, as much as I like their talent, I just have some concerns about whether or not they are ready for this moment.
Yeah. And like like I was talking about earlier, the Spurs, what's the season record against the Thunder? What is it, like 3-1?
3-1. 3-1.
Yeah, you beat down a team like that, and of course OKC hasn't been healthy all year, or most of this year. Like similar with the Knicks, you beat a team down like you beat a team down like that during the regular season. Yeah, playoff time comes around. Now it's time for me to give it back to you. So if they play each other in the playoffs, I don't like the Spurs' chances. I don't.
Yeah.
And similar with the Knicks and Pistons, you're going to catch it, and you're going to catch it real bad.
Brandon Nix joining me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights for night 34 here. I want to shift gears because we have, of course, the Major League Baseball season right underway. Basically in a month or so, spring training is underway. Before we even get to the stuff on the field, one of the big things that has been kind of hovering over baseball has been this potential lockout, which feels like it's inevitable. I have made the case that I want baseball fans to understand that I think you can hate the Dodgers for what I think was the gaming of the system, but what they did with the Shohei Ohtani contract that has allowed them to add all these players in by giving him this deferred money that then allowed them to only pay him $2 million a year so they can sign all these other guys with all the money that they got. I think you want to hate them for that, sure. But I think using the fact that they have all these guys or that they have all this money as a reason to maybe side with the owners that maybe we do need a salary cap is not the way to go. And that has been a problem, and that it's not the Dodgers' fault that they gamed the system and it's not the Dodgers' fault that these broke boy owners, like the owner of the A's and the owner of the Dolan family of the Cleveland Guardians, where your family's worth billions and you're 29th in payroll, and the Pirates, like the broke boy owners are the problem, not the players or not the Dodgers.
A bunch of brokies running around here fronting with the real owners like they bosses out here.
I'm telling you, it drives me insane.
Even your dog agrees.
I know you can't lead in the background. Shout out to Lita. No, it drives me insane, Brandon. Like, do you see this as the same as I do? Do you feel like are the Dodgers to blame for what's going to come, or do you feel like maybe it is more of a problem where the salary cap isn't the issue that needs to be addressed? It's the teams that don't spend.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that. Here's the thing. So this isn't just baseball. This is like pretty much all major sports, right? You've heard this for a number of years. There are a lot of sports owners that love to say this thing. Actually, I can't remember which owner recently said this. Damn it, man, I wish I could remember the owner's name, but a lot of these owners, they like to say these things like, hey, our fans don't want winning teams. They just want our fans just want affordable ticket prices.
Yeah, Mark Cuban talked about that.
Yeah, affordable ticket prices and a product that they can go enjoy. Or you hear the thing of like, I don't want to put together a championship team, work so hard and build a championship team for like 5 years, and then once that's done, I'm back to ground zero. And you are a sports owner. You're a billionaire. Make it work. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you mean to tell me that, let's just say, you're the owner of Tampa Bay Rays, right? And they got their issues. Jesus Christ, stadium, all that, right? Okay, your payroll is 50 million. Look, I don't know. But, it's like 2/3 less of what the Dodgers have, right? You mean to tell me that you're just going to sit there and not try, and not just try drafting well, but like, okay, I only have this. Let me go bring in some sponsors. Can I get another like silent owner? Can I get someone to help me invest? Can I maybe like add some things to the stadium? You know what I mean? Can I like maybe get some players to help me out here? Like, you're just gonna sit there and just be like, well, I only have 125 million payroll. Well, I'll just sign veteran players and get some guys on the cheap, and hopefully we'll win 60 games and we'll have some fun things for the fans to watch. What are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like help me. Like, what are we doing here? You mean?
Well, Brandon, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then you want to tell me because it's unfair because teams like the Dodgers, who are doing nothing wrong, by the way. I mean, if you want to investigate that Shohei Ohtani thing, go ahead. But they ain't doing nothing wrong. They playing within the playbook. The only thing is that they got more money than anyone else, and they got owners who give a shit. Can I curse on this?
You can now. Hey, I've cursed on yours. That's fine.
They got owners who care, and they got the money to do it, and they want to win. They want to win. It doesn't take much to care and want to win. I get so annoyed when I hear these owners. They talk about, well, I think I'd rather just be a good team and just have fans that show up and give them good entertainment, and that's it. You think me as a fan, I want to come and watch a team just be average? Yeah. Really? That's what I want as a fan? You really think that's what I want, right? And like I said earlier, to blame other teams like the Dodgers because they spend too much money, it's not their fault that they have owners who care and they have owners that have a lot of money. You know what I mean? Look at our owner. Keep going. Like, listen, I mean, you could go, okay, do you really want to spend $760 million for an outfielder like Juan Soto? But he's trying, because why? He wants to win. What did Herm Edwards used to say? Hello, you can't win the game, right? You don't play just to play. You don't play just to lose. You play to win the game. So, I get really annoyed with this conversation with owners, man. They really kill me with this, because it's just like, what are you doing? And if you think like that, then maybe you shouldn't be an owner. Maybe you should just give up the team and just give it to somebody who got money and who actually cares.
And my big thing, Brandon, is to me is like I think that you should never go into wanting to be a sports franchise owner unless you want to own an NFL team, which you have that money, then go ahead. You shouldn't go into it thinking to make a profit. That's not yeah.
Well,
that's not.
It's supposed to be like an asset to a certain extent, but yeah, like you said, treating it like a profit. No, you're supposed to treat this like, hey man, if I win, that helps me get more money and it helps me maintain the product and make it bigger and better.
Yeah, it's essentially, I look at sports franchises as essentially a service to the city and your passion project. That's how you should look at it. It should never be, I'm in this to year in and year out make a profit based on how much I'm spending and how much money I'm bringing in. And you mentioned the Dodgers, and one of the things the Dodgers have seen is while they've had to spend exorbitant amounts of money, though again, they were able to kind of finagle the Shohei contract in a way that allows them to bring in more guys. They're spending all this money, but then what happens though? That investment comes back to them. So they get a massive local TV deal. They get obviously fans in the seats every night. They're selling out. Like that money comes back to you if you have to actually invest in your team. I think it's absurd that you have a team like the Guardians who are 29th in attendance and 15th in average ticket sales. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. If you're 29th in payroll, you should then be saying, all right, well, we're not paying a lot, so the fans, we're not giving them the kind of roster that they deserve, so let's drop our ticket prices. No, they're trying to they're just trying to make a profit. So like, well, we gotta raise the prices of our tickets. And I thought Charles Barkley even talked about the NBA when he said that, you shouldn't be allowed to raise your ticket prices after a losing season in any sport. I agree. I'm like, that should not be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And speaking of the NBA, guess what's going to happen if MLB decides to make it a salary cap league? You're going to become the NBA now. And guess what? The Los Angeles Dodgers, now they're the Los Angeles Lakers. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to cry and be mad because they still have the most money and they're still signing all the best players. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, it's all about limiting player salaries, which is what the players are complaining about. That's at the end of the day is they don't want to have a guy like Juan Soto making $765 million or Shohei making $700 million or any of these massive contracts that we've seen. They're trying to lower those numbers because that helps the league overall. And if they're gonna keep going to the same, if somebody's willing to offer those contracts, which we see the Mets and Dodgers are teams that are willing to offer those kind of deals, then those teams are going to be at an advantage because they're essentially choosing to play with their hands tied behind their backs when there's no reason to. Also, you don't have to sign Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani to be good. There are other guys out there who are available. Like, I appreciated the Orioles signing Pete Alonso. Like, I didn't appreciate it as a Mets fan, but in terms of just like, that's a team that's a mid-market team. They need a boost. They now look at them in the Baltimore Orioles. Is that right? They're a pesky team to maybe pay attention to in the AL East this year. Other teams that from low markets can make those kind of moves. They're just choosing not to because, again, they're trying to make sure they ensure that they have a profit. And in order to do that, they'll say, let's just, keep this cheap talent here. We'll develop these young players for the Mets or Yankees to want to trade for, sign in 5 years. And then we'll just keep doing this cycle over and over and over again. They essentially end up being like basically a subsidy service for the big market teams. And then they also then cry foul that the big market teams are so great. It's a joke.
It really is. And on top of that, when it comes to player salaries, the cat's out of the bag, man. Like, go back to 25 years ago. Wow, 25 years ago. When A-Rod got that $250 million contract, you guys messed up a long time ago by giving these guys big money contracts. You think Major League Baseball players now are going to be like, you know what? We made too much money, man. We done took so much money from these teams, and I think it should be fair that we should give some of that back. You crazy? No, that's not gonna happen. You messed up a long time ago, man. You messed up 25 years ago when you gave A-Rod that contract. Ever since then, they went from $250 million to $300 million to $350 to $500 to $600 to $700. MLB players are not gonna sit up here and be like, hey guys, yeah, we probably took too much money. Yeah, we're going to give some of that back to you. No. And on top of that, the MLBPA is one of the strongest sports player unions out of all the major sports. They've been doing this forever. Forever. Yeah,
they're the one union that could survive their president being in a scandal where he's sleeping with his sister-in-law and still find a way to fight like hell to make sure they're not giving money away. This is the only union. If any other union, I'd say, oh man, this is gonna be rough. I don't know if it really changes the baseball players union. They are cut from a different cloth.
Yeah. The one intriguing thing for me though is if we do get a lockout, because baseball is in a very interesting place. I do say that there have been some good things that have happened with them in recent years. The pitch clock has helped. I do think I was a little skeptical of the playoff format, but now I think I like it more and more.
I love it. Yeah, I've grown to love it.
Yeah. But in terms of impact and action and popularity, I don't know where they stand. I don't know if they're the second or third most popular sport in this country. You have people making arguments that we have and I'm happy that this is happening. We have WNBA players, some of them that are more popular than some of the top Major League Baseball players. I mean, if Mike Trout, I know he's an older guy now, but if Mike Trout walked down the street, I don't know if I'd be able to identify versus Angel.
and that's a lot of Major League Baseball stars compared to some of the WNBA stars.
Yeah, so if we do get this lockout, I do wonder, do we end up in a situation like we did in the 90s where fans are mad and angry and they're just like, man, forget baseball. I'm done. I don't want to watch this no more. I can't even watch the games anyway half the time because it's on local channels and I can't even see because I don't have the right app, or when I try to watch it on TV, the game is blacked out. MLB is in a very interesting place, and they're coming off for really good playoffs too. This was probably one of the best. Well, they've had some pretty good playoffs in recent years, but I'm probably thinking more of the World Series. This is one of the best World Series I think of this decade. That was a really entertaining and really good World Series. And the Dodgers are, I guess I don't want to call them a dynasty, but they're becoming one. It looks like. So they have some good things coming, but they're playing a dangerous game if they decide to lock out the players, and they may seriously hurt themselves going forward. And I really hope that these owners and the commissioner get it together and say, hey man, we're starting to get some real momentum and some real traction out here. Let's make sure we're going about this the right way, because we don't want to do a lockout again and make fans so angry that they decide, oh, we don't want to watch this no more. Because hey, we're in a time and place now where people don't have cable. People have streaming services. They can easily cut us off and go watch something else. And it ain't just sports. They can go cut us off and go watch their favorite TV series drama. So we need to be very careful with that. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out, and if a lockout does come, how much that affects them going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because one thing I'm a big wrestling fan, and one thing Triple H always says is we don't see another wrestling company as our competition. We see literally everything as our competition. Monday Night Football is our competition. Dancing with the Stars is our competition. Whatever your favorite Netflix show is our competition, because that is the reality that now you can watch whatever you want literally from anywhere. It could be from your phone, you could be on the go, you could be in your house, you could be at a bar. It doesn't matter what it is, but you can watch anything at this point. So everything is their competition. So I think it's a good point. I think something the WNBA is going to have to think about too for this upcoming season as well, because again, you have all this momentum. This is a different time where it's not all right, if the WNBA isn't playing, there's nothing else happening during the summer besides baseball. No, there's always something happening, because somebody's going to find something else they could want to watch when you have high-speed broadband service in most places here in the country. Brandon Nix joining me live here for 40 days and 40 nights. Of course, we're both big Mets fans. I got to ask you how you feel about the team right now. Nolan McLean looked really strong in his spring training start today. There was a lot of hard feelings in terms of how the offseason started for the Mets. You lose Pete Alonso, you lose Edwin Diaz, you trade Brandon Nimmo. These are guys that are, staples for the Mets, Nimmo and Alonso being homegrown guys. But the Mets bounce back pretty strong. You bring in a Bo Bichette, multiple-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, kind of contender, not a winner, but someone who's contended for the Silver Slugger. You bring in a Freddie Peralta at the top of the rotation. Do you feel like the Mets are a better team this year than they were last year?
The jury's out on that for me. Spring training can only tell me so much. I don't know, man, because as sad as I am about the players that are gone, and as happy as I am about the additions that they have, it's tough for me to say, because as much as I like Bo Bichette and as much as I like Freddie Peralta, I don't know if they're game changers. I don't know if, we're going to go with won 83 games last year. I don't know if that's going to go from that to 93. And you also have to understand, like, before I came on here, I thought about this, and I was like, damn, the National League is probably the toughest I think I can remember the National League.
It's a really good league. Yeah, it's really tough. I was saying this last year. I was saying, because when I was doing shows on the Fan, I kept saying, like, listen, if you're the Yankees, I don't think you have much. You can't be concerned about the Dodgers yet, because you don't know if they're going to get out of the National League. That's how hard it is. And that's how I feel again this year. Dodgers are the prohibitive favorites, but there are so many good teams in the National League. You got potentially 3 good teams in the NL East. You got potentially 2, maybe 3 good teams in the Central, but definitely 2. And then in the West, you have the Padres that are right there. So there's a lot of talent.
There's a lot of talent, and even teams like the Marlins, man. I'm like, I don't think we can take them for a joke. They won like 70-something games last year. Those dudes were competitive. I mean, they ended our season. And like I was thinking about this also too before I came on. Like, I got my eye on Philadelphia because of this whole Bryce Harper thing, and they decided to let him go. That's going to be very interesting. But even if they decide to let him go, right, or don't bring him back or whatever, because I think he's also looking for a new contract, I think, or an extension. I think they'll still be good. So it's this National League, man. This is as strong as I can ever remember, and with the new additions, I think they should help. I just don't know how much they're going to help, because I don't know what this rotation and what this bullpen is going to look like. And again, like I said before, we're bringing in good players, but I don't think these guys are Cy Young Award game-changing players. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're bringing in John Schmaltz and Kurt Schilling to come in and clean and help clean up the rotation here. But what I do expect from this Mets team is that I do expect them to at least be good and be competitive and win somewhere between 82 to 87 games and get a wild card berth. That's what I do expect, because you do have a good enough roster to compete and be over 500. Now, are they good enough to win this division? We will see. I don't know. Are they good enough to dethrone the Dodgers? I don't think so. Are they good enough to compete with the Cubs and the Brewers? I'll probably lean on yes, but a very nervous. The other thing for me too is that they're going to move Juan Soto, to left field, if I'm correct?
Left field. Left field.
Yeah. And the other thing is Francisco Lindor, this hand injury. I think it was just reported today or yesterday that the stitches are coming off now, and they're confident that he could come back right before or right when the season starts. I'm nervous about that because, that's your hand. You know what I mean? He's a left-handed batter, if I'm correct, right?
He's a switch hitter, yeah.
Switch hitter. So, that's going to have an effect on him. And when you come back, it's not like you're going to be, right back to hitting 300 and, you're going to be a Gold Glove shortstop all of a sudden. You got to work your way back in. I'm pretty sure he's doing some workouts. I'm pretty sure he's doing stuff down in St. Lucie. But, it's going to take him a minute to get. Did I say it right? Did I say St. Lucie?
Yeah, Port St. Lucie. Yeah.
Yeah, St. Lucie. Sorry, I said Lucie. Sorry to the good people in Florida. But yeah, it's going to take him a minute to get back. So. Yeah, the jury's still out. I can't definitively say how much they will improve, but I will say they should be a good team, and they should be competitive to win in around in the mid 80s range, and you should be able to get a wild card spot. Because if you have a Juan Soto, and also too, the other thing with Juan Soto that I'm going to say is that I really hope that he's angry this year about not only his performance, fairly good individual season, but I really hope that he really puts a big emphasis on making hits in critical times of games, because there's been too many times last season that I watched him, and he would step up to the plate when we needed him, bottom of the 8th, or bottom of the ninth, and we're down a run or a couple runs, and we need him to hit that home run or just get a hit to get on base, and he didn't deliver as much as I would like for him to. And I hope that the switch to left field helps him defensively, but I really hope that he looks at what he did last season, and I hope that motivates him. But I also hope that this year he gets, because it's the second year now, I hope he gets more comfortable, and I hope he can produce even better results. Maybe the change this year also help him realize, okay, we're kind of catering this towards you and towards your talents here, because we believe in you that much, and you're our top money guy. So, I really, really hope that he really takes it as a challenge to really not only be a better player this year, but to be an MVP again, and carry this team as much as he can.
And that's one thing I said about Juan Soto, and I actually did a show on The Fan a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of my opens, was to me, this is the year that Juan Soto has to really earn the royal blue pinstripes. Like, last year, the individual numbers will look good. And some of them are some of his best numbers. He's never had more home runs. He's never had more stolen bases. But like you mentioned, the issues with runners in scoring position, where I think he only hit 230 for the entire season. For most of the season, he was below 200. It wasn't until like really towards the end where he really started to come through. Yeah, but for most of the season, he was really struggling with runners in scoring position. And the way I've looked at Soto, and I think he is motivated. He talked about how he wants to win MVP. He wants to challenge Shohei Ohtani. I think he is taking the season very personally. But when he got signed, I think that was supposed to be really kind of the benchmark moment for the Mets organization to say, hey, we're no longer the team that can be a flash in the pan, good team every now and then, but most of the time be kind of a laughing stock. We are now a perennial contender year in and year out, because this is kind of money we're willing to spend to be with the Dodgers and with these top teams that are regularly at that level. The Mets have only once in their history been to the playoffs in back-to-back years. They've only won their division twice since the year 2000. Like, this is a team that, despite World Series appearances, and they've only won their division twice, and they've never made the playoffs in back-to-back years for their entire history, except for 99-2000, for the entire history.
Well, I guess 2015, 2016 counts.
Well, I guess it kind of counts. So yeah, it's a wild card, one game. Okay, I don't count that, but yes, in theory, that would be the other one, right?
I feel you, man. I feel you.
But like, it's like to me, like for Juan Soto, I feel like to me, like he needs to be the driving force of this team, and he needs to get off that hot start. Because I agree with Lindor with the ham and bone injury. Like, that's an injury where they expect that your power is not going to come back for you for a little while. So, and Lindor's a notorious slow starter. So I'm just expecting him to be terrible for 2 months. I'm just putting that in my brain, not to get my hopes up very high. I'm like, I just got to expect he's going to struggle for a while, and hopefully second half he turns it around. What happened with Juan Soto last year, where he was struggling initially, he seemed to be mopey. He seemed to not really bring a lot of energy to the team as he was trying to adjust. He was complaining about not having Aaron Judge protect him anymore. I was like, that guy can't come back. That guy has to go away. The guy who we saw for most of the second half of the season, and the guy that is being paid the money he's getting paid to be the straw that stirs the drink, as Reggie Jackson famously said, that's the guy that has to show up opening day. And he has to be able to lift his team up immediately, because not only do you have Lindor, who's coming off an injury, you also have a lot of these other new players coming in, Polanco, Bichette, Simeon, guys are all still going to be adjusting to a new team. So this is going to be the year for Juan Soto to really, I think, step into that leadership role and dominate, which he has all the physical capabilities to do. We just need to see it. And last year, it took him too long to get into the full swing of things.
Yeah, and and like I said earlier, I'm not sure how much these newer guys, how much the improvements are going to be, but I do believe that they should be competitive, and they should be good enough to make a wild card this year. There's no reason why you should be below 82. That's just my opinion, and that should be the bar.
My bar has been, I need them to win the division. Like, because again, this is a franchise that you're talking about in their entire history. I think you're talking about 69, 73, 86, 88, 2000, and 2015. Those are the only years they've ever won the division. They've been around.
2006.
And 2006, which is my favorite team.
Yeah.
Only times they've ever won in division.
Yeah.
Like,
well, but that's the reasons why I said earlier too. I'm keeping an eye on this Bryce Harper thing.
yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, apparently now they probably made up a bit, but Bryce Harper's going to want an extension. And as we've seen with another Philadelphia team, you have a player who's a little disgruntled and is not happy with the situation that is going, and that's going to cause some ruffles in the organization. So yeah.
I think Philly's right for the taking. I look at Philly. I think that you had the Harper stuff. You lose Ranger Suarez. We don't know when we're going to see Wheeler. He might be around May. They think. I think they're a team that's right for the taking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they are so difficult to that they're so difficult to beat. I do think they're very beatable. I just think though they're probably a slightly more complete team than us, and they're going to be held this season. They're going to be held, and like I said too, the Marlins, man, I don't think that they're going to be competitive. And also too, man, the Braves had a wacky year last year. They were like 0-11 or whatever. They started the season. They had the worst start in the history of Major League Baseball, basically. And it's not like they're so far removed from all the years that they've been good this decade. Like, I expect them to be better too. So it's tough for me to. I would love for them to win the division. I would love that. I really would, but I can't guarantee it, man, because the NL East is too hard, man, and we still have some unproven things about our team. And I'll say this: if the rotation is good and the bullpen is really, really good, like dramatically improved from the year before, okay, you can talk to me about division. You can talk to me.
Brandon Nix, man, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me. Let the people know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter, ITS_BNIX, or it's_BNix on Twitter and Instagram. You can catch me on Twitter talking about sports, giving my opinions every now and then on NBA stuff, crying about the Mets and the Giants, because Giants aren't that good. Maybe crying about the New York Liberty. Maybe crying about St. John's if they don't make the Final Four this year. But yeah. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, ITS_BNIX. That is me.
Brandon, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I'll see you soon. And
thank you so much, man. It is an honor to rock out with you, man, and I hope we get to do this again.
For sure, for sure. Shout out to my guy, Brandon Nix, coming in, bringing the fire. I tell you, man, anybody I'm bringing to this stage, they've all brought it. And what I love about this stage, again, is I want to bring all different kinds of people, different kind of voices from all over. And I think what's cool about this one is, again, this is someone that is not related to, like, my family, literally, because you got Shamari and Kendall who come on regularly. They're not obviously related to anything Infinity Sports Network or anything related to WFAN, but bringing in a new voice that maybe you guys haven't heard before, but who's someone who, again, who's worked so many different spots. Again, he's been a producer with The Athletic. He's been a producer with Slate. He's been a producer with ESPN and Sports Illustrated. So he's been around the block. He's a veteran in this game. We're, fellow Craig Newmark School of Journalism grad, so there's a lot of pride there. Brandon's phenomenal at what he does, and he's a great talent, and it was great to have him on. He did his thing. Did his thing exactly as I expected he would. And make sure you guys go follow Brandon, whatever he's doing, because whatever he's doing is usually of really high caliber. Much love to him, man. Great job, as he always does. I want to move over. I didn't get to talk to him about this, but I do want to talk about what's going on with Giancarlo Stanton. I know Brandon's more of a Mets fan, so I felt like, I wanted to get him getting on the Mets. And he gave me a lot of stuff on the Mets. But I do want to talk about what's going on with Giancarlo Stanton. So we know last year Stanton missed a ton of time with what they call tennis elbow in both elbows, which sounds extremely painful. But he took an injection, he waited for, half the season, came back, and essentially was the same Giancarlo Stanton. The guy who hit home runs, can't run the bases at all. They had to play him in the field a little bit, which was a little scary, but he survived. I kept thinking he was going to pull a hamstring the first time a ball got hit over his head, and he didn't. So good for him in that standpoint. Clutch hitter, big time power, but we know his limitations because of, I guess, his body. I don't know how to say it, body and age, I guess you would say. But he's had these elbows, and he played last year, and he finished the season, and I thought, okay, I've actually heard nothing about Giancarlo Stanton injury situation, so I guess we're all good. Like, Giancarlo Stanton's going to come in, and it's actually part of the reason why I kind of wondered what was going on with the situation with Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones, who, by the way, also hit a home run in spring training today. He's starting to look pretty good. Like, I was like, I don't know what you do with these guys, because Stanton, as long as he's healthy, he has to play. He's going to be the DH. He has to play every day. So what are you doing with these other young outfielders? How are they going to get regular at-bats? I thought the answer was they won't, which is why I wondered why they weren't being traded. My theory was maybe Trent Grisham was someone they're not believing in. But then I read this story, which Giancarlo Stanton told reporters today that he is excited about the season. He's hoping to have a full season of playing because he's had, obviously, all these injuries. But there is one thing that may be of concern. He told NJ.com that because of the damage that's been done to his elbows, he has trouble opening a bottle of like soda or a bottle of like, hot sauce or whatever. He can't open a bottle. I can't open a bag of chips. A bag of anything. That's the way it is. That is his daily life now moving forward with these elbow injuries that he had. He missed 70 games last year because of tennis elbow in both of his elbows. He opted not to undergo surgery last season. And, Stanton saying that an operation wouldn't have actually fixed the issue he's dealing with. So it's kind of weird to come out and say, I'm expecting to play all 162 games this year. Also, I can't open a bag of Lay's. But that is what he told people today. So I think if you're the Yankees, you got your answer if you're a Yankee fan as to why Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones is still on this team. I think you just... And maybe it was silly for even me and other Yankee fans. I'm not a Yankee fan, but for Yankee fans, to ask, what are we doing? Like, why don't we trade these guys? Stanton's going to miss 80 games. I don't know if it's going to be because of his elbow thing or it's going to be because of something else. But for a guy who's going around saying that he's going to try to play 162 games and he can't open a bag of chips, I can't imagine that this elbow thing doesn't become more of a problem when you start actually swinging a baseball bat regularly during a season where you play essentially every day. And I can't imagine that there might not be something else that comes up because of the fact that you're dealing with this elbow injury. There's a forearm issue happen. There's a shoulder issue happen. Like, we don't know what maybe the damage he can cause continuing to play. He had a whole season of rest. And it goes back to that Charles Barkley quote, one of my favorite quotes of sports. And I always think about it anytime I think about players that are coming up, especially older guys, where he says this, one of the biggest misnomers in sports is that once you get to a certain age that a guy has an off season, they get healthy. He says there is no such thing as getting healthy at a certain age. It's just getting rested. You get rested, you're rested for a whole off season. But as soon as you start playing again, all the pain you dealt with in the previous year is coming right back. They're just not going to fix some things. And that's essentially what Giancarlo Stanton is saying. He's not healthy, he's rested. That elbow problem is going to be a problem for the rest of his career. So if you're the Yankees, I'll be honest, it makes me wonder even more why they were so hell-bent on running it back. Because I don't think that this is like the perfect formula. Like, if they had, to me, if you come into the offseason and you say, you know what, maybe it's a foolhardy thought, but hey, Stanton finished the year, he didn't lead the lineup once we put him out there, he even played the outfield a little bit, we feel like he's going to come in and be healthy, and he's feeling good, and we're really excited. That's one thing. You say, okay, we're running back with this team. But him to come into training camp and be like, I had no injuries, nothing happened to me, but I can't open a bag of chips. I don't think you should be building your team, your lineup around guys that have problems opening the bottle of barbecue sauce. I think that's a real problem. And if I was the Yankees, I know his contract is massive, but I really think that they may have been better suited to try to get off of this like Stanton train of hoping he can give you between 65 and 100 games a season and just hoping that he's healthy for the regular season. I think that would have been silly to continue to move in that way. I really do. I think this worries me. because it feels more like the Yankees are not really being proactive and saying, how can we aggressively actually improve this team? Let's just hope that things kind of fall in our way. Because things can fall in their way. Like, things fell in their way for Stanton to finish the season and through the injuries and through the pain, and still pretty productive. He wasn't that great in the postseason, which he typically is great, but no one really helped Judge at all. Judge was by himself, essentially, during this postseason, it felt like, for especially the series against Toronto. But I just, part of me is like, and I know his contract's massive. I don't know. I got to see how much money he's got on this deal left. Well, let me see. Stanton contract. So, and listen, to trade him, you're probably going to have to eat his money. So I get, I'm not sure if he's going to be exactly somebody that's going to be warranted by other people. That guy signed a 13-year contract. That is crazy. Just to see the deal in front of me. So, yeah, I mean, he's there. So he's got 2 more years left after this year. The money's actually not crazy at $19 million. I think this is movable. I'll be honest. I would have traded this guy. Even if I didn't get a lot for him, I think I would have wanted to move on. Because at some point, you got to figure out if, like, Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez can play. And if they can't play the outfield, then at least maybe see if they could DH. Relying on Stanton and saying, okay, we're going to wait until Stanton gets hurt for then these guys and then go in. And then, okay, what happens when he comes back? Are they going to go back to the minor leagues? Like, that doesn't seem like a plan. That just seems like, again, you're kind of going through the motions. I've been someone who defended a lot of the Yankees' plan to run it back. Hearing today about Stanton not being able to even open a bag of chips, and you're expecting this guy to be your second best offensive player for a World Series run, it just seems implausible. Like, it sounds unserious. This was tough, and like it's tricky because Stanton is still productive. That's the problem with it. It's like, yeah, but when he plays, he's one of the best power hitters in the game. So how are you gonna, really go crazy about them deciding to bring back Stanton? I get that, but I get how long are we gonna keep doing this song and dance? Where you're hoping he plays less. Last year he played 77 games again. Again, he was good. Like, there's no denying he had a really good year last year. For the 77 games he played, he hit 24 home runs. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Like, if you double that for the amount of games, you're talking about a guy who would have hit close to 50 home runs in a certain stretch. So I kind of, but again, if there's any time to trade him, now will be the time. You're going to bet that he's going to be healthy enough to do that again next year or this year? I don't know. I thought that it was actually, this was not good. I didn't love hearing this about Stan. Hopefully he's healthy for the season, but I would tell Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez, you're not going nowhere because we're just waiting for this guy to get hurt. It's only a matter of time, it seems like. You saw Brandon mention it a couple of minutes ago. I mentioned it earlier as well. Deuce McBride expected to be out for the rest of the regular season. So this was from Stefan Bondi, where he had the sports hernia surgery. Those are always tricky surgeries to kind of determine when you're going to be back. It's tricky to determine how you respond to it. It's just a tricky injury. And there was hope that they knew he was going to miss a considerable amount of time. There was hope that maybe he can come back towards the end of the regular season. But that has now apparently been ruled out, that's really most likely not going to happen. He's going to miss the rest of the regular season. And I think this is a huge deal because Jose Alvarado move certainly lessens the blow of this a little bit, because Alvarado does some of the things that Deuce does, especially when it comes to being a point of attack offender and picking guys up full court. But Deuce McBride had turned himself into the best shooter on his team, arguably. He is a extremely good jump shooter, a tough physical defender who, despite his size, can guard two guards, guard guys bigger than him because he's so aggressive and so physical. And he's just been a reliable Knick this year. So if you're talking about Deuce McBride missing all of the regular season, if they're willing to jump out the window this early, it's February 26th. We have a long time before the regular season ends. The regular season ends in early April. That's a lot of time. If you're willing to jump out the window this early to say that Deuce McBride is not going to play, and knowing the Knicks staff, I am preparing myself to not see Deuce McBride at all this season. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I've done this song and dance with Mitchell Robinson in previous years. I've done this song and dance with Julius Randle in previous years, where sometimes I just try to read the tea leaves. That should be that could be the name of my next podcast, Read the Tea Leaves. I say it all the time. But I feel like the Knicks often will put stuff out there to maybe let you read the tea leaves that things aren't going so well, but they won't say exactly how bad things are. And then, like, something comes out, yeah, that guy's done for the year. You're like, wait, what? Like, I thought he was coming back. I thought things were good. He's like, yeah, well, we told you he might not play the regular season. We'll see for the playoffs. The playoffs aren't happening. I feel very pessimistic about this today. And this is a tough blow. Because I think Deuce McBride would have been very important against a team like the Detroit Pistons. I think he would have been very important against a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. They played them because the Sixers have that speed in the backcourt. There are certain matchups where I think Deuce McBride would have been critical. And I thought these games they played recently, the last 3 games essentially, where you had the Rockets game where they shot the ball poorly for 3 quarters, the game against the Bulls where they essentially never shot the ball well but played good enough defense to win, and then we saw the game against the Cavs where they had one of their worst shooting performances of the season. Deuce McBride, if anything, even if he's undersized and he's having trouble with defensive matchup because of his size, he's always going to be able to shoot the ball. So not having his shooting ability for a team that has shooters, but you never have too many, is a big deal. This is not a small deal, I think, for the New York Knicks to have Deuce McBride not be able to play for the rest of this regular season. And even if he is back for the playoffs, I think the hope you would have is, hey, he, plays during the regular season. He's coming back from an injury, so he can get some tune-up games to get ready for the playoffs, get to know how his body feels, get his legs underneath him. It's hard to just drop a guy who hasn't played in 2 months and say, all right, now you're in the playoffs, go perform. Coming off of an injury. Like, playoff basketball is essentially a different sport from the regular season. So the intensity ratchets it up probably tenfold. This is tough. This is a tough thing to hear. I heard this, I was like, oh man, they're already ruling out the rest of the season. It's February. Like, I know February's almost over, but there's still time to at least see how he responds. The regular season ends, and then a week later the playoff starts. So it's not like there's that much difference from when the playoff starts and then the regular season ends. So you're only talking about a week difference. Do they know a week later he'll be fine? They don't know that by now. If he's not good by the end of the middle of April, I'm assuming he's going to be also not probably that great ready for the beginning of the first round. Which is also why I will say again, the Knicks better make sure they freaking get that number 2 seed. Because if they can avoid a matchup with the Sixers or the Raptors, I think that would behoove them. I think if they got to face the Heat or the Magic or one of them teams, they'll probably be fine to beat them without Deuce McBride. But if they got to face one of those, I think the Raptors, I don't think that's going to be a walk in the park without Deuce McBride. I definitely don't think it's going to be a walk in the park against the Sixers at all. I think that would be a war if they have to play the Sixers, even with them. I think it's going to be a tough series. I've been saying that all season. The last series they faced them was a war. This will be another one. So this is tough news for the Knicks. We got to hope that Deuce McBride can come back healthy. But again, I'm already mentally preparing for the Shands report to come out in a month that Deuce McBride has been ruled out for the season. This is how I feel right now. This is not good news for the New York Knicks. A couple more things before we get out of here, man. I want to talk about this Brady Tkachuk story. Only because it's kind of a follow-up from what we talked about this morning. So there's been so much controversy regarding what happened with the U.S. men's team and their call that they took after they won the gold medal game with Donald Trump. They were with FBI Director Kash Patel, who put Trump on the phone, who was celebrating with them. And they eventually ended up going to the White House, and they were at the State of the Union this week. And one of the things that came out that has definitely caused a lot of controversy was the comments from the president where he told them, hey, unfortunately, congratulations, you guys did a great job. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to invite the women to the White House too, because otherwise I get impeached. But we'll have fun and it'll be great. And the guys were all laughing. And a lot of people have disliked this comment from Trump. We had yesterday Hillary Knight, who's an Olympic gold medalist for the women's team, come out and say that she thought it was a distasteful joke. And the players on the U.S. men's hockey team have had to defend themselves, or at least they've chosen to defend themselves. You had Jack Hughes saying that we have a great relationship with the women's team, and there's a lot of narratives on social media that are false about them. You saw Quinn Hughes also defending himself and saying that they have a lot of support for the women's team despite the video where Trump makes this comment and then they laugh. Again, Hillary Knight's calling the joke, quote unquote, distasteful. This feels like this is becoming one of those deals where one of my favorite lines, you play stupid games, win stupid prizes, or as the famous Monique would say, see, sometimes when you do clownery, the clownery bites back. This is essentially what you're having here. So now Brady Tkachuk who was a star player in the NHL, but a star player obviously with Team USA. They win the gold medal, but he has to not go back to Canada. And he has to answer for not just those tweets, but other things coming from the White House, which included, I will play for you this video that the White House put out that I want to be clear. I want to stay at the jump and as loud as possible. This is an AI doctored video that the White House put out after the U.S. won to, kind of honor the fact that they beat the Canadians. This is a Brady Tkachuk at a press conference. I'm not going to play the video, but you hear the audio. Brady Tkachuk at a press conference with an AI doctored audio of him dissing the country of Canada.
They booed our national anthem, so I had to come out and teach those maple syrup eating f***s a lesson. Canada, we own you, lil bro.
So here we go. So Brady Tkachuk, you play for a Canadian team, man, and now they're going to ask questions about this. So he was asked about it, and I'll be honest, I know the headlines are saying he's very upset. I watched him. He was trying to grin through it and smile through it. He was not trying to be very negative, but he wanted to be clear and make everyone know that the video is obviously fake, and that's not how he feels about Canada.
Yeah, well, it's clearly fake because it's not my voice and not my lips moving. So, I mean, I'm not in control of any of those accounts, and yeah, so I know that those words would never come out of my mouth, so I can't do anything about it.
So he kind of takes the high road initially. Can't do anything about it. It's not. I didn't say that. It's AI doctored, but those aren't my accounts, and I would never say those things. But again, he's in Canada now. He's in, I guess, they're our neighbors and they're our friends, but right, quote unquote enemy territory. This is not going to be all right. We just move on. He actually has to answer for this because they're probably Canadians being like, what the hell is that? So they want to confirm because they saw how celebratory the team was with Kash Patel and the president. Do you support this message? Do you like the fact that this was posted? Brady Tkachuk confirming that he does not.
Like it? Do I like it? Do you like the video? Did I like it? I mean, it's not my voice, not what I was saying. So, yeah, I mean, I would never say that. That's not who I am. So, yeah, I guess I don't like that video, and because that's just never would come out of my mouth, never a thought, and I'll leave it at that.
And then finally, one other thing also from the earlier video where Trump makes that joke about not sending the women to the White House, or sending them to the White House only because he has to, unless he get impeached, which again, Hillary Knight from the U.S. women's team, she called distasteful. In that video, I don't know if this was AI doctored as well, but the video that is of the call, someone they think is heard yelling something like "close the northern border." We know, if you know anything about just like anything about in politics, obviously, the president has been very strong about strong borders and strong about, taking retribution against Canada via tariffs and all those different things. I'm not getting into a political thing, but that's just the background of that. So then he also had to be asked about like, hey, was that actually you yelling close the border when Trump was talking to you guys?
I've been seeing stuff that people think it's me, but if you watch the video, that's not my voice and something that I never say. And I mean, I don't really know how that kind of took a storm on its own when I play here and give everything I have here, and I just think that's something that never a thought would happen in my head, and especially would never say it. And I know it's crazy when things get on social media how fast they go, and just of course I would never say anything like that.
When you do clownery, sometimes the clown comes back to bite. And this was essentially what I was kind of trying to, it wasn't a warning anymore because the damage was done, but I was trying to allude to earlier this morning, which is you could think that whenever something as simple as hockey winning a gold medal, if you step into any kind of political arena, you're just, in this world, you're going to take all of it. And when this political arena has become so warped with AI and an administration that is very different than previous ones, this is the bite back to that. Like, this is what now you have to deal with. Now you have to answer for your likeness and your voice. He's saying it's not his voice. It sounds a lot like him. It's not him. I want to be clear. That first video is not him. But like they clearly, the AI they used, they tried to use a voice that sounded like Brady Tkachuk. Like this is what you invite when you invite that kind of clownery. And you know, I saw Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird. They had their podcast. They're, of course, they're a married couple, and I think they're married. If not, they're obviously together. And Megan Rapinoe, of course, she has played for the U.S. women's national team. So Sue Bird's an Olympian too, but she has played a lot of like international kind of sporting things. And the one thing she said, she's like, listen, I know as I've been a captain of Team USA in international competitions, and if somebody comes into the locker room that you don't want to be around or you don't want to deal with, the players in that locker room, especially the leaders of the team, they make it known, get that person out of here because we don't want to deal with having an embarrassing moment where a picture gets taken with somebody I don't agree with, or a picture that's, I'm seen, hanging out or celebrating with somebody that has certain views that I don't agree with, or anything like that. He says, that is something that if you're a leader of a national team in any sport, yes, you can't control who actually gets in there because there's all these people who are like, who run the team, run PR and stuff like that. But once the person is there, the locker room controls the locker room. So when we have this question about, what could they have done or whatever, like, listen, like they had no problem with Cash Patel being there. I mean, they're pouring beer on them and putting a gold medal on them. So they can't really avoid that. So if you're going to do that, you can't then turn around and say, what's the big deal with people not liking me? Like, this is the political arena. Everyone is super polarized and super unlikable. And again, it's not just Cash Patel. It could have been any politician or any political figure. That's just the reality of where we are. But it's why I go back to what I said earlier this morning, which is like, a lot of this could have been avoided had they simply came out, instead of playing the victim, decided to say, hey, we were excited to have President Trump give us our support. Even if you want to say, okay, the FBI director, he wanted to hang out with us. We're cool with that. We appreciate their love. But we didn't like the comment about the women's team. Will you have people who still hate you? Sure. Will you have people who still be on your ass? Sure. That's just a reality. But would you have this be a national story now? We're going 5 days where we're still talking about this thing? Where now you're going back to your NHL team and now you got to go back to Canada? And there's some, now because of this administration, again, can you say, what's the big deal about just like, some people say, it's just the president. I respect the office. What's the big deal about supporting the president? Well, this is a guy who will use your voice and use your likeness to say, you maple eating Fs. How about that, little bro? This is who they are. Like, and if you like it and you're fine with it, that's fine. That's your right. That's your prerogative. But you can't then want the universal love. That's one thing it's not just about this or even politics with professional sports. That's the one thing about athletes that I've grown to really dislike in this generation. I talked about that where I made the comments a couple weeks ago where I had made a public apology to Joe Burrow like months ago. Cause I thought I jumped off the handle on a comment, and I don't like to do that. But it stemmed from him complaining about like attacking like journalists because they learned of this girlfriend he had been dating who he was trying to keep secret through a robbery, which people are gonna, when you get robbed, like, it's sad, and we don't want that ever to happen to you, but that becomes a public story, especially when it was a string of robberies happening to athletes. So, but he went on some I thought ridiculous rant about like the media and you guys need to leave me alone and I'm a private person and get out of my life. And I'm like, I'm sorry, who you date is extremely public information because you present yourself as a sex symbol. You cannot be Mr. Fashion, Mr. I'm walking on red carpets, Mr. I'm in France, I'm in Cannes, I'm in, all these, fashion shows and showing off as a sex symbol. And then you're dating a supermodel and think that nobody's going to care. It was, to me, utterly ridiculous. And I don't want to even bring that up because I got a lot of love for Joe Burrow. I think he's an awesome player. I think for the most part he's a good dude. But I only bring that up because that's just something I see from athletes a ton. Where it's like, I want to be able to just do whatever I want and have everyone just also not look into my personal life, not care about my personal life, or not even judge me in any way. And that's just it's not reality. It's not real. There's no part of like that mindset that makes any sense given where we are today. If you want to sit around and complain about the times of today, okay, go get a podcast and yell about how you are upset about everything. Aaron Rodgers does it every week. So I'm sure you can find a Pat McAfee or just make your own podcast. You can do that if you want. But don't think that people aren't going to feel like, hey, man, like, you can't just think you could do whatever the hell you want. And people aren't going to feel a way about it. People are going to feel a way about you hanging out with Cash Patel. People are going to feel a way about you laughing about a joke about not wanting to send the women to the White House for winning a gold medal. Sorry. And now you're going to have to answer for when the White House makes AI doctored videos of you trashing the country you live in. That pays you. That is part of all of it. And if you don't want part of all of it, then I think you need to understand to take all these things with a lot more grace and a lot more seriousness and a lot more empathy. You could have respected the president and respected the office and still said, hey, that one comment I didn't love. We love our women. We love our team. And we're friends with them. That was one thing we didn't like. We laughed at the moment. It probably was a bad moment for us to laugh there. They don't want to do that. And I think that because they're not doing that, now they're facing the heat that they're facing. And, they can talk about, well, who cares? Well, you pissed off a lot of people and you lost a lot of fans in what was supposed to be a uniting moment. And I'm sorry, there's just nothing uniting about a divisive president telling you that he's unfortunately going to have to invite women and you seemingly co-signing that. And no, you hanging out with them at 3 a.m. celebrating after a win is not going to turn around or make you forget about those images of you guys laughing at this guy making that joke. It's reality. If you don't want to live reality, go play NHL 26. I don't know what else to tell you. Last thing before I move on. Last thing before we get out of here. This has been a fun show, man. Thank you guys for rocking with me so far. 40 days, 40 nights, approaching 2 hours here live. Multiple accounts. Live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Live on X, EJ_Stewart. And live on Instagram, Action EJ. All episodes also get podcasted on our podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search New Generation Podcast Network. You can get this episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights, along with all other episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights, and all of the episodes, everything we do on New Generation Media. So if you want to check out the audio version, if you're on the go, you can't watch the television or can't get into a computer, and you're working out, you're on a run, you're driving, whatever the case may be, and you need to listen to the audio version, check out the podcast network where you can get this show and, again, all of the shows associated with New Generation Media. Didn't expect how this day was going to go. And I keep looking at my phone and my computer because my phone's been getting blown up because of this tweet I posted that I expected to be kind of nothing, but ended up being more than nothing, I guess. So, to back up, obviously, we've talked a lot about J. Cole. And I actually remember a couple days, I said this is the last time I think we were going to talk about J. Cole for a while. It's not blowing up as bad as I was, but I was getting a lot of notifications initially. So, I mentioned earlier, for weeks we've been talking about J. Cole, and I mentioned a couple days ago, I think we won't have to talk about J. Cole anymore when I was talking about Jay-Z, and of course the next day somehow J. Cole gets mixed in. So J. Cole dropped his album a couple weeks ago, and people feel how they feel about it. That's not really the point of this. Rappers, musicians of all kinds, they're always trying to find ways to get attention, people to see their music, people to engage with them. Engagement is the game, which is something that I've talked about. So I'm not even mad at CyHi for any of this. Do I think it's ridiculous? Yes, but I'm not mad at him about it. But he dropped his album, and CyHi The Prince put out a tweet. He's a rapper. He's formerly of Good Music, which was Kanye West's label. I don't know if the label exists anymore. It's hard to know what's going on with Kanye West, and I've tried to disengage. But he is associate of Kanye West, but he was under his label, Good Music. And he put out a tweet after J. Cole's album came out that was this kind of vague tweet about how rap back in my day used to be real hustlers, and now it's people who went to college and dropped out after their second year and something. And because you put this tweet out during a time where one of the rappers most synonymous with college life, maybe with the exception of Kanye West, is J. Cole, because a lot of his content was about being in college, people took offense to that. Because J. Cole had whatever you think of the actual album, it sold almost 300,000 copies in the first week. It feels like it's on track to probably go platinum. It's been a massive success from a marketing standpoint and just an impact standpoint. So it looked like shade at J. Cole. which is the point. Like, it's like, even if it's not, you're getting the attention you want. So J. Cole fans, because they're fans on the internet, what do? They come and they attack. They go after him and they're like, oh, who are you? You ain't that successful, all this stuff, blah, 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 right? Again, I really wasn't paying attention to much of this. I like CyHi. I actually have a CyHi album saved on my Spotify still. I forgot which album it was, but he dropped an album maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That was really good. He's a good rapper. He's good. But I'm not like a huge fan. I don't follow him regularly or anything like that. So I wasn't really following this story. I didn't know this was even still a story, apparently. But then he posts this tweet today, which is a video attached to it. Because videos don't play well on this service, I can't really show you the video. I didn't feel like downloading it because it's a waste of time. But he posts this video where he kind of responds to all these people that have been attacking him about talking about J. Cole, saying, I wasn't talking about J. Cole, but since y'all mentioned me. And the video, which begins with his original tweet, which you can see there, where he says, I grew up in an era where your lyricists were from the streets. Now it's a bunch of straight A students who dropped out of college their sophomore year to be rappers. You can tell they don't have any life experience. They're just good with words. To wrap this to put this after the week as J. Cole put out his album and think that nobody's going to think this is about J. Cole is insane. But whatever. Again, he's playing the social media game. So that's how the video begins, and it eventually goes into a part from a song that J. Cole dropped called False Prophets. This came out in 2016, so we're talking about 10 years ago. This song that J. Cole dropped is famous for being kind of a diss. It definitely be taken as a diss, but if not a diss, at least a observation about what he thought to be a sinking Kanye West when it came to somebody who seemed to be losing their way, not just musically, but just as a person. And one of the lines in there is how he has all these D-riders and yes men around him who can't tell him that he's losing his mind. That's one of the lines essentially in the song. So in this video, CyHi plays that part of the song. And then he posts this in the video, like J. Cole's rapping on a New York City bus. So he then posts this video. I mean, not this video. In the video, then this image comes up. This hilarious AI picture, I guess. It's so ridiculous. But I guess it's J. Cole on that same New York City bus who now is having to respond to CyHi, who takes offense to being called one of these D-riders and yes men who did not have the balls to tell Kanye West you're being a lunatic. I guess this is him showing what's going to happen next as he's going to now confront J. Cole 10 years later to talk about those lines, that one line that he did not like. So then he teased that tomorrow, February 27th, there's going to be something coming. I assume it's music. I assume it's a diss track. And this is the impetus to diss J. Cole, was something that J. Cole said where he was rapping about Kanye West. And there's one line about how Kanye West has yes men and D-riders who don't tell him he can't, he's losing his mind and his music sucks. Which, why would anyone think that CyHi is a yes man to Kanye West? He's just an artist. Like, do we think that Big Sean's responsible for Kanye West's dissension into psychosis? No. Does anybody like Pusha T for that? I don't think so. Like, so I posted, like a lot of people were saying this is ridiculous, and I posted. And I'll close this other thing so you can see. This might be one of the most shameless reaches for attention I've ever seen in hip hop, and that's saying a hell of a lot. Responding to a song about somebody else 10 years later is wild. And also, dying on the Kanye West hill in 2026 is wild. And I'll explain why that last part is important and why it kind of sums up this whole thing. I thought that'd be the end of it. But I wanted to put that out, so I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous. Who would have thought CyHi The Prince would actually respond to your boy? But he did. CyHi The Prince, thank you for this award. I appreciate it. 3 or 4 trophy emojis. which I think he's taking in stride. I hope he is. I hope he's not really wants to beat me up or anything like that. But I'm so shocked that he responded to me. I was not looking for a response. I was getting a lot of notifications initially. It's not as bad as I thought it was. So I don't think it's gotten too much traction. It is CyHi. But this thing is funny to me because the only thing I'll say on this, and again, I think CyHi is a really good rapper. I'm one of those folks that always say, like, it's not about who's the most popular, who means who's the best. It's like whoever you like. CyHi is very good. He makes good music. No pun intended. But aren't you kind of proving J. Cole's point by even doing this? Which is why I said dying on the Kanye West hill in 2026 is insane. Because let's play this out. Let's say you actually did take offense to a song from 10 years ago that didn't name you, didn't even name Kanye West, by the way. We all jumped out the window to assume it was about Kanye West. That randomly laments D-Riders and yes men who are not looking at this generational star for what he's becoming, which is this out of control guy. Look at what Kanye West has become since 2016. Cole said that back then. This is before talking Hail Hitler that he said on his terrible song. This is all the wearing the Klansman stuff. Like all of those things that we've seen Kanye West do since then. Maybe he said he might have did the slavery's a choice thing. Maybe that was around the same time, I think. But think about all the terrible things. The Super Bowl ad with the terrible swastika. Like, think about all the things that Kanye West has done. Kanye West recently had a Wall Street Post full-page ad basically apologizing for all of his actions over the last 10 years, saying that essentially he is dealing with mental health issues, which is more or less the story. That he's bipolar, and then he told him he was autistic, so he thought he wasn't bipolar, but then he realized he is bipolar. I didn't do that story because he also has music coming out. I wasn't going to give him any more attention because that's what he always wants. But think about the pariah Kanye West has become. If you took offense to J. Cole criticizing people around Kanye West for allowing him to ruin his life and his career, you're a yes man who helped ruin Kanye West's career. You're confirming everything he said. Which is why this is so silly to me that he's actually like taking credit, like, oh yes, I will take this award. Yeah, I will make this reach. That how dare J. Cole mention unnamed yes men who have ruined Kanye West's life. Kanye West's life is ruined. You know who said that? Kanye West. He literally said it a couple weeks ago. He put out an ad saying I ruined my life and I ruined my professional career with how I was acting. J. Cole was right. He won. Sorry, like that's already been adjudicated. Why you'd want to jump on the Kanye West hill and bandwagon down and say, no, he shouldn't have said that about the guy that wanted to dress like a Klansman and push neo-Nazi theories onto the American public and his listeners. What? Come on, man. Like, that's why I said what I originally said. Like, do you? I'm not gonna tell somebody how to eat. That is a thing I live by. As long as you're not hurting anybody, do whatever you gotta do. It's shameless. It is shameless. There's no, I'm sorry, that's the definition of it. It is shameless to take the stance that it was wrong for J. Cole to criticize yes men around Kanye West for allowing him to become a lunatic when he became a lunatic. And then Kanye West said, I had mental health issues and I didn't have people around me that were supporting me and I was misdiagnosed and I am very sorry for all these people I hurt. I've ruined my career and I ruined my life. Those are words he said. Again, get it how you got to get it. If it means playing the troll, it means posting me on social media or posting other people who are criticizing you, attacking other J. Cole fans, go at it. Again, I'm a J. Cole fan, but I'm not one of these stan people because I've had, I always forget his name every time I'm about to say it. I don't mean to do this like a bit. It's like Ron something. I don't remember his name. But one of these guys, he's still commenting in our post. Like he still. Like I did another post with Ray and the guy from Dreamville. I want to call him Ron Harper, but it's obviously not his name. But he's still like, oh, you guys don't know about music. I'm like, can you go away, please? But so I'm not. I'm not like I'm beloved by the Dreamville team. Apparently, I mean, I don't know if I wanted to get tickets to the next Dream Fest. I don't know if it's happening if they do one again. But no, I'm like, I mean, really, you're really gonna go down this road of doing this thing, CyHi? Okay. Again, get it how you got to get it. Stunned to see that I was being reposted by a rapper about something that I'll admit I did quote him, so I can't act like I didn't mention him, because I guess in theory I did. I didn't think of it as mentioning him. I just had to post what I saw, and my instinct was like, this is utterly ridiculous. But here, let me post this. And he's gonna go through with it. So I am definitely not giving this no promo tomorrow. This is all the promo CyHi is getting from me. So if you want to listen to that song, this is it. I'm not playing it. I'm not responding to it. Anything you post about me afterwards, this is it. This is the last thing you're getting from me. But shout out to CyHi. I definitely have no beef with him. And again, he's a talented rapper. Apparently, he wants to die on the Kanye West hill in 2026. Can't make this stuff up. And that's where we're going to leave it, man. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Big thanks to my guy, Brandon Nix, coming through with awesome sports takes and a interesting impersonation of Herman Edwards. It was like, let's do Herman Edwards if he was a serial killer. Like looking into the camera, how he did and stuff. But Brandon's entertaining, Brandon's funny, Brandon's smart, and he was awesome. And he did a great job. So shout out to Brandon Nix. Again, make sure you follow him at It's B Nix everywhere on social media, both X and Instagram, and follow his work wherever he goes next, because I know he's going to do phenomenal stuff in his next stop as well. And of course, make sure you continue rocking us here. Of course, I'm live right now on X, EJ_Stewart, Instagram, Action EJ. So I'm live in both spots. Make sure you follow me there. Also, we're streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And of course, like I said before, make sure you subscribe to the podcast network. Search New Generation Podcast Network wherever you get your podcasts. You can get this episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights and all other shows with New Generation Media. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star review. That'll help us a ton. And if you can write a review as well, that also will help us out. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, like the video, give us a comment. All those things when it comes to, engagement, which is what CyHi The Prince was looking for today, and he certainly got it. So I got to give him credit. Credit where credit is due. He's doing his job. Engagement helped me too. I won't stand on the Kanye West hill to get that engagement, but I will give some sports takes and just speak from the heart and try to give you guys the real as much as I can when I step to this mic. And that's how I hope to get engagement. And you guys supporting me in that way, give me a like, give me a comment. All those things definitely help. And I think that's where we're going to do it, man. That's where we're going to leave it. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out, again, this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Tomorrow will be fun. We have Kendall Fridays. Kendall will join us Friday nights. We'll see what we'll get into in the morning, but this will be day 35 and night 35 tomorrow. This is the second to last week of 40 Days and 40 Nights. After tomorrow, 1 week left. What an incredible journey this has been so far. I love the fact that you guys have rocked with me for this amount of time, and we got a week plus left to go. So let's make it good. Enjoy the rest of you guys' night. I'll see you in the morning. I'm EJ Stewart. See you later.